right, well, welcome to vlog number 3, episode number 3. I'm your host, Brian Czach, and welcome back. If you're just joining me, I'm doing these weekly vlogs to talk about my daily, if not weekly, activities in the music biz and all sorts of thoughts and just a range of emotions and things that I'm going through as the week goes by here in this crazy business called music. It's definitely an action-packed weekend this weekend. Thursday afternoon, about 2:30 p.m., I got a text message from an acquaintance asking me if I was available to play this weekend with an artist on 2 road dates. And so after working out the money and the details and how long I'll be gone and all that stuff, just all the logistical stuff, I said yes. I accepted the gig, and I had a matter of mere hours to learn an entire 2-hour set, which was pretty daunting. This is an artist that I was completely unfamiliar with, never met anybody in the band, so it was all brand spanking new. The artist was doing about 50-50 originals and covers. So there was a good, I think I counted 11 original songs to learn, and the rest of them were covers and or medleys of covers, which I'll get to in a second about how much more difficult medleys are than actual just songs, cover songs, if you will. But anyway, so yeah, I was sent a massive Dropbox folder full of number charts and MP3s and board mixes and just a whole assortment of information to look over, study, draw upon, import into my iPad. As you can, so just to lay it out the way that things worked out. I mean, like I said, the call was at about 2:30 p.m. that I learned of the gig, and we were leaving the next morning at 5:30 a.m. So I had almost zero time to prepare for this gig, but I was able to import what I needed to chart-wise into my iPad and to somewhat familiarize myself with at least half of the show before I called it quits and went to bed. And of course had to get up about 4 a.m. the next morning. And the rest of it I just sort of dealt with in the van. And yeah, I do mean a van. We were not on a bus. We were in a Sprinter van, which I guess is one step up from the white rapey vans that a lot of artists use on that sort of mid-level artists, who are not at that level where they can afford to hire a bus or own a bus, God forbid. Because getting a bus these days, I'm told, is almost impossible, but which is kind of crazy, but it's true. You need to, if you're trying to get a bus, then you need to get a bus driver too, and apparently those are hard to come by too in the music biz. So this particular artist, his name is Matt Rogers, by the way. Matt Rogers, if you look up on Instagram, Matt Rogers Country I believe is his Instagram handle. So he owns this Sprinter van, which is actually, it wasn't bad. I mean, it's got a very tall, ceiling, so you can actually stand up in the van if you want to and stretch your legs. There was plenty of room for all of us and all of the gear. I did bring my own drums, and I used, well, I'll get to the gear later, but so yeah, it was kind of like just a crash course cramming event for me, and just trying to figure out the new music. And as well, so Matt had texted me as soon as he found out that I was accepting the gig. He texted me and asked me if I could come over to his house and just do like a quick meeting and just kind of talk things down and run things down, just details musically and otherwise, if I had any questions, etc., etc. He also wanted me to make sure that I was cool and familiar with using his tracks, which was all run through an SPD-SX, a Roland drum pad SPD-SX. So he has all of his tracks and clicks stored within that unit, and he just, there was a way to use that within the show that he wanted to show me, which was really great and important. And yeah. I feel like I should have started this episode with the fact that I just got home a few hours ago from Chicago, driving. I don't know how many hours it took, but I'm on very little sleep and been bouncing around in that Sprinter van all day. So if I'm a little bit out of it, or if I look a little bit strung out, that might have something to do with it. So yeah, I'm pretty tired, but I wanted to get this episode in tonight because I have a really, really busy week this week, with all sorts of things happening during the day, pretty much every day this week, and meetings and rehearsals and whatnot. And I just wanted to, get this in before I hit the sack tonight. So all of that. So if I seem a little bit out of it, that would be why. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, we met at his house for about an hour, and he showed me all the ins and outs of the SPD-SX and how to run it, and just we went down the set list and just talked everything through, which was helpful. I think probably put him more at ease than me. Just meeting me and getting a feel for, like, who's going to be playing drums for him, who is this stranger, making sure I'm not some like basket case who's like all like drugged out or something. So because that actually happens. Yeah, so I went back home and just got right back to work and was studying all of my charts and making notes and listening to all the MP3s and board tapes and videos that he had sent, and a couple of songs that I wrote my own charts on because I felt like the charts that were provided were pretty unclear, and it was really hard to decipher as I sit here at my desk and looking at it. I can only imagine trying to decipher these charts in the heat of the battle on stage with the lights and all the everything happening all at once. So I did rewrite, I think, like 2 or 3 songs, and create my own charts for those. And I was glad that I did that, because there was it provided some clarity as to like the arrangements and some of the songs were pretty predictable and pretty straightforward. But some of them were kind of not so much, and there were some weird endings and stops and starts and hits, and a couple of songs had some weird like 2/4 bars in them, so you had to kind of watch out a little bit and just be aware of that kind of stuff. Okay, so the two gigs that we did, the first one was in Cleveland at a place called Welcome to the Farm, which I believe is like a new venue. It was in this sort of new area where all these bars and restaurants and clubs were, and it was like pretty happening down there. I mean, there was a ton of people. It was a Friday night. The place was just packed to the gills with a very young audience who were drunk out of their minds for sure. But it was a beautiful venue. It was right on the water. And like there were, ships like sailing in, and there was sort of like not a boardwalk, but there was like a walkway next to the water where the boats could like anchor, and it was just a really pleasant evening. And so I remember we had dinner at the club, and we had some time to kill, so I just kind of took a walk around and just enjoyed, like the area, and just was exploring a little bit around that little area. It's not a big area, but there's a good like circular area where all these bars and restaurants were. It was really nice. Tons of people, like I said. And I guess while we were playing, it started raining really hard, but we lucked out a bit because after our show, the rain let up, and we were able to pack the van up. It was only like really lightly sprinkling at that point. So we lucked out a bit with the rain, not having to pack the van in the pouring rain, which was nice. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was a great audience, and the show went really, really well, especially considering, the fact that I didn't really know the music that well. I mean, I hadn't, I was basically reading the whole night. I was just reading off of the number charts. And I should say that the bass player, his name is Jake, it was his first gig with Matt as well. And so so literally bass and drums were reading the music for the first time in these shows. So it was definitely a sort of a trial by fire weekend. The next night we were in Chicago at a place called Bub City, which is sort of a pretty much a mainstay of a lot of different artists go through there, sort of the mid-level artists, especially country artists, I believe. And like the management owns other venues that are larger, so this is sort of like a stepping stone for the artists. Once they play Bub City and they do well and things are smooth, then maybe they have the chance to move up a notch, a rung on the ladder, and move up into some of the bigger venues. So it was important. It was an important show for Matt, and it went really well as well. In fact, I should say the second night felt a lot more confident for me, and as well for Jake. We talked about it. We both felt way more comfortable about certain things, things that maybe we were unclear about the first night. And of course that's always going to be the case after the first show. I mean, without a rehearsal. So it was, like I said, it was a 2-hour show, mix of covers and originals. Yeah, so the first night in Cleveland, we were pleasantly surprised that there was a house drum kit, which I did end up using. It was a Pearl Road Show. No, I'm sorry. It was a Pearl Decade Series drum kit, which I don't know anything about. I don't know the Pearl lines, what's good, what's not good. I don't know, but they were pretty clean. The heads were good. It was just a 3-piece kit. It made it easy because I didn't have to set up my own kit. So I still used my snare, my cymbals, my pedals, and that sort of thing. But it made it a little bit easier not having to pack and unpack all that stuff. The Chicago gig, there was no house drum kit, so I used my own, which was fun because I like my drums and they definitely sounded better than the house kit did. I used my Thomas Star Classic maple kit that I use so often on live gigs. I kind of went different with the tom configuration. I brought my 13-inch rack tom, which I hadn't used in like literally years. I don't even know the last time I used that drum. It still had a coated Aquarian Super 2 on it, where the other toms I've been using clear Super 2s for, I don't know, some years now. But I didn't, it was fine. It sounded great. But it was great to just use the 13-16. So that's the configuration I went with. Excuse me. Drinking some wine here tonight. So 13 rack, 16-inch floor tom, and the 22-inch kick drum and I used a Canopus BB snare drum, the Black Beauty. And that was great. I mean, it sounded freaking awesome. It was perfect. It just kind of, I took some video of, I got the whole first night show on video and part of the second night until my camera flash drive, whatever that's called. Not flash drive, but you know what I mean, the memory card, the memory stick, it ran out. And I had brought my laptop and just completely forgot to bring a stupid USB cable, so I was unable to import anything to clear off the stick. So I only had like maybe half hour left for the second show, but I recorded that much of the second show in Chicago, and it came out pretty well. The Chicago show was kind of dark on stage, but regardless, it's good to. I've only just kind of listened to a few songs before I turned this camera on, so but it came out nice. That's kind of how my weekend went. I don't know, like, what else I want to talk about. We have a gig. So I have a busy week coming up. Like I said, I have rehearsals. I have some meetings coming up. There's a industry event coming up on Thursday that's put on by Pearl Drums. I'm pretty excited about that. There's some drum clinics at the event. Mike Mangini, Dennis Chambers, and Omar Hakim are performing. So I'm really, really excited about that, seeing those guys. And of course, just, it's going to be a literal, like, who's who of drummers in Nashville at that event, I guarantee. And then later on in that evening, Corey Wong is performing, so that's going to be cool. I don't really know much about Corey Wong other than people just say Corey Wong, and he I guess he's like really, a really happening artist right now. Honestly, I don't even know if he plays. I think he plays keyboards, but he might play guitar. I don't know. I haven't listened to any Corey Wong. I know that he has worked with Snarky Puppy, and again, I'm not like a huge fan of Snarky Puppy. So don't sue me because I just said that. Maybe many of you are like, what? Like, don't attack me in the comments, please. But sorry, just Snarky Puppy. While I like what they do and I enjoy their music and their videos and stuff, I am not super overly impressed with the whole thing, just because I feel like it's all been done before, like many decades ago. I mean, if you listen to Weather Report, they were doing the same thing, only way better with a much smaller band and better compositions. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, there's nothing that Snarky Puppy has done that has blown me away, and there's not one single melody or anything that I've heard of theirs that was like, oh, that sticks in my head. Nope, sorry. People act like they're this like super original, cutting edge band. No, I really disagree with that. I love the fact that they're able to do what they do and that they have the success that they have, because I'm all for instrumental music being being pushed forward and being loved and admired and celebrated. But they are just not on the same level that the fusion bands from the 70s and 80s, Chick Corea's bands, and like I said, Weather Report, all the great fusion bands, Steps Ahead, all yeah, no comparison there. Sorry. So if you're a big fan of Snarky Puppy, and if you're like, just if I got your blood boiling just now and you're seething in your seat, maybe go back and listen to some of those older records from those artists I just mentioned, because there's a lot to take in there. So yeah, but again, that's just my opinion, and whatever that's worth. So yeah, I'm as I said, I'm just really tired. I spent the whole day in the Sprinter van. I was fortunate that today was I think I mentioned on my last vlog that I'm a big New York Mets fan, baseball, and I'm a big baseball fan in general, but because I just love the game, and I love like all the sort of idiosyncrasies of the game and the nuance and detail and strategy of the game. I love all of that, but especially I'm a New York Mets fan, and so today the New York Mets had a doubleheader, so I was able to watch the first game on my phone in the van, and that was really fun because they won. In fact, they won the second game too. So it was a really great day for baseball if you're a New York Mets fan. So that was kind of fun. I haven't been like listening to much music lately, but that's because, well, I was studying all of this music for the shows, at least over the weekend I was, and B, I've been really listening to I've been going back and checking out all these different podcasts from a bass player artist named Yannick Gwizdala, and he's just got a whole slew of podcasts and YouTube videos, and he's put out a whole number of original records, artist records that he's been the leader on. And so I spent the rest of the time in the van just listening to his podcasts and just soaking up all of his information and just the way that he presents information to the general public through his brand, if you will. He's written a number of books. As I said, he's a bass player, so the books that they're kind of like instructional books, and they deal with theory and just playing the bass in general. So that part of it I'm not so much interested in because I'm not a bass player, but I do enjoy hearing his perspective on playing with drummers, especially great drummers. But also, I mean, I was listening to a part of a podcast of his today, and he was talking about playing with bad drummers who have bad time, and how like a bass player should adjust to that, and how you would react to that on the gig, and how do you behave, and how do you sort of handle yourself. It was really interesting to hear some of that perspective from a bassist. And, I mean, Yannick is working, I mean, he's worked with Jojo Mayer, and I think he's currently on the road with Steve Smith. So he's worked with Dennis Chambers and all sorts of great drummers. So, hearing his opinion on these things, on these subjects, really is interesting to me. So I recommend you check out Yannick Gwizdala on podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Makes me almost want to create a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast now. I think there's like 3 million podcasts running. Is a number I heard the other day. So there's all sorts of information out there that you can get. So if you're tuning in here, I thank you so much. Please like and subscribe and write me a comment, and hopefully you're enjoying these videos as much as I'm enjoying making them. I am, in fact, enjoying just kind of sharing my insider's world with you a bit. Because, sometimes it's, you don't really have anybody to talk to about this stuff. Like, I can talk to my wife about it, and she's sympathetic, and supportive, and all the, everything that goes along with that. But sometimes you wonder if she doesn't quite understand all the nuance of it, and like, what does it mean to get up on stage and play a 2-hour set of music that you don't know. I did promise that, well, I didn't promise, but I mentioned that I'm going to address the medleys in the set. So with the show that Matt Rogers puts on, he has a number of medleys of cover songs. There's a 90s rock medley, there's a 90s country medley, and there's also a punk rock, like a 2000s medley with like Blink 182 and bands like that. And so my opinion, and I thought about this as I was playing the first night of shows, the medleys were the hardest part of the show for a couple of reasons. First of all, everything was on click in the show except the medleys. The medleys did not have any click. So we were all, it was just free form and just call it out and go. So tempos could fluctuate from night to night, and from show to show or whatever. So you had to be careful there. But more than that, when you're in a medley, even if you know the song, medleys typically are shorter versions of the song. So that might be like a verse and a chorus, or maybe it starts on the chorus and it goes back to the verse, and then it could be anything, it could be any section of you could take like just a section of the song and cut it out and put that into the medley, and bam, there it is. But if you're so used to playing the song from start to finish, it can throw you off, because especially in this situation where I don't know hardly, what we're doing, there's no rehearsal, there's almost no information. It's hard to know, like, well, where in the song are we cutting from? Are we picking it up from the second verse and going and go to the chorus and then maybe to the bridge and then chorus and then on to the next song? Or maybe we're starting from the beginning, or maybe we're starting from some weird breakdown that's in the song, and that, like, there's any number of things, and it can be really, really difficult to navigate that and just, get a handle on, like, the arrangement of the song, because you're still trying to honor the song and how the song goes, but you're so used to hearing the song a certain way, which is really beginning to end, that it can throw you, and it just makes it more difficult. And as well, in a medley, like I said, you're taking you're snipping out a portion of the song. So what ends up happening is, it's a medley, so you're doing like 4 or 5, maybe 6 songs in this medley. And so things are moving fast, because you're going from one song to the next way faster than you're used to having to go. And so tempos can kind of slam into a new thing, whether it's faster or slower, just different. It can be, from one song to the next, you might have a completely different sort of attitude on the song, like a different sort of vibe. Like one song could be more aggressive, one song is more lighter and more delicate. And, without practicing those songs in those transitions, it can be kind of a minefield. It can be really difficult to just sort of nail those down and dynamically figure out, like, well, where do I need to be? Where am I heading? And what's next? And how do I set that up? Because as a drummer, your role is, so much of what you do is you're setting up the arrangement, right? You're telegraphing to the band and to the audience, really. Are we going up? Are we going down? Are we bringing it up in intensity, or are we knocking it back? And in order to do that, you have to play with a certain degree of confidence. And so if you don't know, it's really hard to telegraph those things, because you don't know. And so, you have to kind of just trust your instincts and almost just take a chance and just kind of lay it out there and go, hope this is right. And sometimes you'll be right and sometimes you'll be wrong. So, sometimes you can't really dwell on the mistakes. You have to just keep moving and going on, and not let yourself get bogged down by any weird mistakes that might happen, because, hey, you don't know the arrangement, and you've never played with these people before, any of them, and and they've never played with you, so it's just a big, huge adjustment. Everyone's trying to figure each other out, and hopefully everyone's listening and has big ears and can make those little small adjustments to each other and help each other out, give cues where needed, and that sort of thing. The guitar player Nick was helping out with some cues on some tunes that I was less familiar with, so that was pretty helpful to have him just nod, or like, there was one point where he was like, halftime. Okay, go to halftime. Stuff like that can go a long, long way. So, yeah. if you're in a band and you know the arrangements and there's someone who's filling in the band, especially a drummer, anything that you can do to help that drummer out, cueing, just helpful hints, anything along the way on stage while you're in the moment, whether it's, neck cues with your guitar or just, eye contact and, just telegraphing, if you can read lips and that kind of thing, anything like that can really help. And similarly, if you're a drummer subbing in to a situation that's foreign, like I was, don't bury yourself in the chart. I mean, if there is a chart, great, read it and absorb the information that's there, but also try to keep an eye out for those visual cues from maybe the singer or the music director. And just try to be hyper aware of like what's happening on stage while you're keeping track of what's happening in your chart. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it with that. Let's see. So before I leave you though, I'll say this: I was working hard on that recording that I was recording with Tyler Larson earlier last week before I got this call to play the weekend, and I felt like I finally came up with a great part with parts that fit the song. Excuse me, my voice is getting tired, but and I feel like I got a really good take out of it so far, but I need to continue working on it and just kind of tweak it a little bit more and make sure the transitions are super tight and they all make sense, and make sure I'm not missing anything in the arrangement. But yeah, it's a good deal of double bass drumming, and it's really upped my game in terms of sort of mid-tempo double bass. Sometimes I find that slow to mid-tempo double bass drumming is actually harder than fast double bass drumming. You really have to have the control over the two kicks to really lock it in. And so this song is the tempo is 121 BPMs, which is, it's not super slow, but if it was super slow, then I wouldn't need the double kick. So it's those sort of medium to medium fast tunes that I find are harder to play double kick on. Just like I said, it just takes more control and more accuracy. There's more room for mistake. There's more space between each note. And something that I've been working on, like conceptually, to help me with these double bass patterns is something that I learned very early on with my hands while reading music, and especially while sight reading music. And this concept is based mainly on 16th notes. So if you're playing 16th note groupings of any kind, the idea is your right hand you start with the right hand on the beat. And so your right hand plays the one and the and the left hand plays the E's and the ahs. So you're going 1 E and 1 E and like that. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and of course that's the group of 16 subdivisions. But here's the thing. That's really easy when you have 16th notes all in a row. But what happens when you start taking notes out and you sort of break up the 16th notes? So what happens if you want to go E and a? Now, there's a whole number of ways you could play that. I mean, you could play right, left, right. You could play right, right, left. You could play left, left, right. You could play right, 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 and so on and so forth. There's any number of ways to play that and read that, and it would still be correct technically. But what I found is that with this system, if you keep to the system of the right hand, and in this case the right foot, playing the downbeats, the one, the quarter note, so the one and the and, or the two and the and, or whatever beat you're on, it's the downbeat and the and you keep the left foot to play the e's and the uhs, this will greatly help you with those broken 16th patterns where you have to play da 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 da. So if you're playing like one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, four E and a, I would play that with my hands. I would play that like left right left left right left left right left left right left, because I always want to land on the right side, which is my strong side as a right-handed player, and I'm actually not right-footed. I'm actually left-footed, but I play a right-handed drum kit, so technically I consider my right foot to be dominant. So I would want to play left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left. So if I was playing a groove that was like just eighth notes on the right hand, backbeat with the left hand, 2 and 4, and I wanted to play I would play with my feet. I would be playing left, right, left, 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 left, right, left. And I would hold myself to that same grid, if you will. And this is something that I've been working really hard at. And what you have to kind of do is go through all of the permutations of different patterns of broken 16ths and get familiar and just sort of muscle memory them all. And it takes time. It takes a long time. And you have to kind of start slow because you really want to practice them accurately. So this is just an idea that I've been really shedding and working hard at. And really, I should have been doing this years ago. And I've just been lazy. I admit, like I just haven't done it. I haven't put the work in. And so now, when I go to play with those mid-tempo double bass patterns, I sometimes struggle, and it's not been like fully absorbed yet. So some days are better than others, but it's something that I'm working to sort of integrate into my playing to make it super automatic and just super like my hands are. Like I would just be able to play that no problem. And anything like you put in front of me, if I was to sight read any group of patterns that are broken 16ths, I would have no problem sight reading that. And that's because I've worked so long and so hard at establishing this pattern of this sort of concept, and like it's almost like a rule for me. I make it so that no matter what, the left hand plays the E's and the ahs, the right hand plays the ones and the ands. And it makes it so much easier to sight read, and you make way less mistakes that way, because you'll never land on your non-dominant hand or foot this way. You'll always land on the downbeat with the right side. And that's so important, especially when you're playing foreign music and you're just reading and or improvising patterns that you won't get thrown off, and you'll never get your brain will always know where you are. Like you'll always have kept track of where is the one, where is the downbeat, where do I land, where is the strong beat in the bar. And that's ultra important. So yeah, that's what I'm going to leave you with on this vlog. Once again, please like and subscribe. don't forget to check out, if you're feeling really generous, go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/Brian Czach. If you want to study lessons with me, and especially like, if you're digging this sort of concept that I'm showing you here, go to brianczach.com or go to my socials @BrianCzach, and hit me up in the DMs and just write me a message, write me an email, and we can set up a lesson here in person in Nashville, if you're in the area, or if you're not in the area. I also do online lessons over the Zoom or FaceTime or whatever format you have. I can do that as well. And I'd love to do that with you. So, yeah. Thanks again, and thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate all your comments, and I've been getting some really great feedback from the 2 episodes of the vlog so far. So really keep the comments coming. If there's anything you want me to address or work on or make better, let me know in the comments, or just write to me. All right, guys, take care for now. I will see you next week, if not sooner. Bye.